Hello, everybody, and welcome to CONSERVATISH episode 240. My name is Peter Edgar Feliciano. Wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe, share, rate, review, or you're racist. And you can find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano. No, you can't find me on TikTok. I got kicked off again because the Chinese people. Just wherever leave a review, all that bullshit. Thank you so much. Leonarda Jonie.
Yes, that's correct. That's my name. Hello, everybody.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. So these Chinese people don't like you?
They don't like you.
But you're you're like a little bit Chinese.
That's rude. You've never seen me drive. Where can people find you, dear?
You can find me on Instagram at Leonarda is funny too, because my first account got banned.
At 10,000 fucking followers.
Yeah, they were like, that's enough out of you. I did a trans baby sketch. They weren't too happy about it. It literally just said what they say on the other side. And they were like, well, you're being sarcastic, so we have to ban you. I'm like, you don't know that I'm being sarcastic.
Right. You actually, and then later in another video, you did actually cut that boy's dick off. So
I know, and I couldn't post it to support my case, so.
It's bullshit. How did bots even understand sarcasm?
It's not, dude. They were watching me. You know, they get really mad. They see certain accounts, and then they watch you. And I found I had so much joy in knowing how mad they were at that sketch. I was like, that's next level rage that you had.
Well, I think also part of what it is. So everybody, she's a comedian. You moved here from New York.
Yes.
Okay. How long ago?
About a year and a half ago.
Oh my God! So you were like from the jump.
Yeah.
You got the fuck out of there. Good for you.
I was like, that's enough out of this.
Yeah, it took me until July of this year.
Oh, you're out of control.
Oh my God. Me and Kevin. You know Kevin.
I do. I love Kevin. Great guy.
Sweetheart.
New York Freedom Rally. Can't mention them in anything.
No, can't tag them. Can't do none of that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually moved to New York from San Francisco. I'm a musician, singer-songwriter, blah, blah, blah. I moved out to New York in order to do that. And then 2 days after I signed my lease, the city got shut down, lost my job. We were all going to die.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty fucked
Jeez.
up. So then I gave New York the try. I was like, okay, I'm waiting for you to get your balls back and be New York again. And it just refused to do so. So.
Well, here's the thing. New York had lost his balls pretty long time ago.
That's what I heard.
You just didn't know it. Like, it was like the outer shell. It's like, you know, when you have termites that go into a tree and they eat everything from the inside, but the trunk is still there. So you think the tree is still there. And then something comes and just like hits the tree and then it falls over. And you think that thing knocked the tree over, but the tree had been gone for a long time. That's kind of what happened in New York.
Right.
The tree had been gone.
You been there, though?
My whole life.
Your whole life? You were born and bred?
Born and raised.
What part?
I grew up in the Bronx and then went and moved to like Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, everywhere.
There's a lot of Albanians in New York.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's like Albanian Central, man.
Because I kind of feel like you, no offense, I feel like y'all look like kind of Armenian, kind of like.
I resent that.
Or maybe even a little Puerto Rican, maybe a little Russian.
You know
maybe
what?
A little...
We know how to blend in. That's all.
That's
right?
true.
We know how to blend in, but no.
Okay, so you lived there. You did comedy. What was the impetus for you to come here?
Well, I was doing stand-up, and I was doing my best to continue doing stand-up even during the shutdown, doing like underground shows, underground mics was really fun. Right. But then the wintertime came, and it's like, how many things can you do in the wintertime because everything's outdoors? Right. And I was doing it was a show outside in the park in February in snow. Like the guy didn't cancel the show. And by the time I went up, my lips had frozen because it was so cold. Right. And I was like, that's enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
I'm out of here.
I feel like non-New Yorkers were a little bit more open to the idea of like, I think it's easier for people who are not from New York to get swept away in the fantasy.
Of course. Yeah, the fantasy of New York. And New York was such a fantasy. It really was. Like, it was everything and more. Right. As what, if you lived in New York and you knew New York, like you knew it, you knew the nooks and crannies, it's the stuff that you don't do as a tourist, right? It's not, the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building and the shopping in Times Square. That's not it. Right. It's the little, like, side alley bars that nobody knows about. It's the underground dance party that breaks out. It's the, hey, in this coffee shop, we're going to have a poetry reading and some famous, writer might stop by, but nobody's going to give a fuck unless whatever he's reading is good.
Right. Woody Allen plays saxophone or flute or some shit at some jazz place.
That's what I'm saying. Like something that's the New York, and you don't get that as a tourist, and you really don't get that anywhere else. I mean, there's a charm in Paris that Paris has a similar charm that New York has. It's like totally different flavor, but in terms of like that artistic, like you just don't know what's going to happen to you.
Right.
I think Paris and New York, and those are my two favorite cities, and I think for a reason, you know. Like I was in Paris several years ago, and randomly I went to this restaurant that was like on Anthony Bourdain's list. It was just one, and I was like, you know, with my broken French, you know, can I, you know, sit for dinner? And they were like,
I've heard bad shit. I've heard that they get mad. They get mad at tourists in Paris.
They were so nice to me.
Oh, really?
They were so nice to me. I think because they knew I was trying.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to talk French to them, and then they would just talk back to me in English, and I'd be like, but I want to talk to you in French. And then they were like, so I went to this restaurant, and then I said, you know, can I get a table for one? He's like, do you have a reservation? He's like, no. And he's like, ooh. He's like, all right, I can give you this table, but you got to be out of here by 9:30. It was 7 o'clock. I was like, yeah, no issue, dude. I eat my food in like 15 minutes.
Right.
He drops the menu off. He puts me on a table for one. He drops the menu off. He does not come back. I shit you not, for like 30 minutes. I was like, are you in a rush? I think you're in a rush.
Right.
And then he comes back, and it's just like he totally forgets. And he goes, hey, do you mind if I sit somebody with you? Because, you know, you don't have a reservation, and then they'll make things easier. And I was like, who? And then he points to this guy who was so cute, right? And I was like, hell yeah. And then this was like a comedy. This is like something that happens in a movie. So he points to that guy, and I'm like, yeah. And then he goes, great. And then that guy gets out of the way, and this old dorky man with these giant ears comes and sits down. I was like, this is a comedy. That guy ended up.
Did you fuck him though? That's what
he was gay.
Oh, okay.
That guy ended up being a really famous French actor who played their president in the their television show, and so
Zelensky.
I don't even know. We had a great dinner. The guy was so nice. It turned out so much better than if I had sat next to the cute guy. And then next to us was like this famous French rocker who was like, do you know who that is? So the French rocker was impressed that I was having dinner with this, and I didn't know who anybody was. And I was like, that's like such a Parisian thing to happen. That's a New York thing to happen too.
The magic in the air, the whatever.
Yeah.
What killed it? Because I have my fucking views. I was born in Long Island. I moved out to the Bay Area when I was 9, but I knew New Yorkers. I'll
tell you what killed it. People aren't going to like this. Money.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's about what I have been talking about. But please elaborate.
There is a certain level of money that needs to be in a city, because you don't want to be. Look, you can't have. Everybody wants to be like the charm of the 70s, New York. You can't have that. Okay.
Right. Too many black people.
You know what I mean? You can't have that much crime and then have anything really kind of develop there. You know, it's going to be hard. You need a balance between, you know, affluence and artists.
Degradation.
Right. And I think New York lost that and just completely tipped the scales totally into affluence. It's been completely hollowed out by the money. Right. So everybody that lives there now works in finance, marketing, or tech. They work, you know, 60, 70 hours, and they go to brunch on the weekends with their friends who all wear the same outfits, all style their hair the same, all are cookie cutter the same. And it's like, how do I stay safe?
Right. And not only that, but also all agree the same thing. So like the way I put it is because I lived in San Francisco, I know exactly what killed that city. It's the same thing. It's affluence. But it's also, we all have to believe the same things.
Well, that's what happens. Here's the deal.
If anyone who doesn't believe what we believe, they get shunned. They just don't, you know, you have to bend to the will.
But that's what happens in extremes. It happens in extreme affluence. It also happens in extreme poverty. You'll get, no, I'm telling you, you need to be in the middle class, right? If you are in extreme affluence, it's so comfortable. It's so you don't have to struggle for anything, and you don't want to risk it. Do I want to go back to working that blue collar job? No, I like it here. So I'm going to do whatever they tell me. And then especially if you're in these markets like tech, where they all have this like one brain wave, they're all running on one algorithm.
And they're all fucking dorks. Dorks are some of the worst people. Like I've talked about it. It's Revenge of the fucking Nerds.
Oh, it is. Really We're definitely living in Revenge of the Nerds right now.
Yeah, it's Mark Zuckerberg didn't get fucked till he was probably like 23. That's why his Asian wife is like fucking maybe a 4. Welcome to conservative.
Well,
But
Mark
like,
Zuckerberg is not that good looking. So.
well, no, that's true. But
He's a
ugly
reptile.
motherfuckers, ugly motherfuckers get, anyway, suffice it to say, it's the when those people get surrounded, whether he earned his shit or not, when they get surrounded by affluence, when they get surrounded by people grabbing on their elbow and be like, hey, could you please vote this way? Could you please stop these people from, and everybody's looking at you.
Yeah.
And it's like a rush of power. And you
Yep.
just feel like, oh my God, I'm important. People are listening to me. Hot girls are talking to me. It doesn't matter how I look. It doesn't matter how I dress. This is intoxicating.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's definitely intoxicating. And then you want to protect that. You want to fit in.
Right.
And you don't have courage when
Right.
you're in that. It takes courage to really kind of like struggle for something new.
Right.
It takes courage to step out of line and not go with. It takes courage to wear a different outfit than all your friends.
Right.
Or to like dye your hair different, right?
Right.
Or to like not get fucking Botox so we could all
Right.
look like the same Stepford wife. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Kathy
that,
Hochul.
that takes courage. And I think we're missing it in a lot of ways because it's not really like people don't see what the reward is for courage. And
Right.
we like the comforts of a nice life.
Right.
That's what I think. So I think that ruined New York. I mean, New York was what it was because it was gritty and it had people who were fighting for something. And they used to say, like, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Mm-hmm. And it used to be true because now it's, well, that's true, but you can't make it here.
Right. But you also have to get the same injections that we get. You have to say the same things.
No,
You
but
have to
literally you
believe
cannot
the
make
same
it here.
things.
So
Right. That's
Get
why I got out of there. Because like I had seen the writing on the wall from being in San Francisco and knowing
you saw it come in.
Because I left San Francisco specifically because there were no artistic opportunities for people like me. Or for really any artist. It was tech central. It was, angry women because they're surrounded by weak men and weak dudes who have no connection to like the real shit. So
To
anyway,
masculinity.
to whatever. And I was just like, this is not going to happen. And so I had two options, LA or New York, and fuck it, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I came back to New York. And then I realized pretty quickly, this is San Francisco is what this is. This is San Francisco. And this is something, I don't know what your thought process was. It sounds like you had that like, my lips are freezing. This is the same shit. I'm hitting my head against the wall. That's what it kind of was for me. It was like, I don't need to wait around for New York to pull its head out of its ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's some if a alcoholic, the wife of an alcoholic is like, let's wait until you crash another car and get another DUI. It's like, nah, bro. Like I'm good. I need to do what's best for me. And as far as I could tell, Austin is the right fit for it right now, anyway.
Yeah, and there's opportunity here.
Right.
Austin to me right now kind of feels like 90s New York.
Yeah.
Or
Portland. Did you ever go to Portland?
No, but I'm sure it was cool. That's what happens. It's like you want the left and you want the right, but you want them to balance each other.
Yes.
In the 80s, you had the right going crazy, and it was the same thing that we have now, just on the other side. Everything was locked down, and don't do that.
Right.
You just had a stifling of the human spirit, but from a different point of view. Well, you have a stifling of the human spirit now, but it's under the guise of compassion and empathy.
Right.
What a load of shit.
Right. Niceness. And it's the same thing with the Revenge of the Nerds thing, because now these people who were bullied, who didn't get fucked, who had no power, who had no whatever, now they're drunk with power and they're like, now I'm a nice person for censoring somebody? Oof.
Yeah.
Bullying comes in all fucking flavors.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But they like it. They know what they're doing.
They know
it's
I think they
definitely
know what they're doing.
retribution.
Right.
It's all unconscious too. But I think that happens to anybody when you get power, And to me, it's like hate the crime, not the person.
Okay.
Hate the action, not the person, because that could be any one of us. Honestly, like any one of us. Like if you put me in a position of power and you gave me unlimited power, I mean, I'm gonna ban you for not making a trans baby sketch.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's gonna be a different level of dictatorship, a lot more fun. However, it'll still be a dictatorship. So that's why our system of government has the checks and balances, which I think the elites are trying really hard to dismantle. I don't think they expected it to be as hard as it's been.
Right.
And I don't think they expected people to be like, yeah, I'm actually going to use these guns.
Yeah.
And I actually expected a little bit more of a fight, but I guess we didn't realize, again, I'm going to go back to that example of the tree being hollowed out. the American tree has been hollowed out for a long time.
Right.
The invasion of this sort of Marxist agenda, and it is a Marxist agenda,
Right.
has infiltrated our schools, our media. It's across the board.
Right.
That's why you have these, 20-something-year-old kids who are foaming at the mouth that
Right.
Donald Trump got elected. And you're like,
Right.
you don't actually realize the mind control programming that's been happening on you, because it's been happening now for like 50 years. So,
Right.
how many of us have really been able, I had to pull myself out of that.
Were you a leftist at one point?
I was more left. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was definitely more left.
Most of us were.
Because I believe, I grew up in the 80s with the right and their super conservativeness and the repression, and it's like, that's not what I want. I'm not interested in that. I like what liberal values stood for at one point.
At one
right?
point, right.
Which is freedom of speech, which
Right.
is acceptance of a variety of different viewpoints and people.
Right.
It was compassion and empathy for the human, but as you can see, like, anything taken to the extreme is bad.
Right.
Too much compassion. I mean, what are you gonna? Too much compassion, and you let a heroin addict rape your whole family.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's like, you got to have a little bit. There's compassion and there's justice.
I always put it this way. I would have been in 1991 at 1992 when Christian conservatives were bulldozing Ice-T records because he made that song Cop Killer.
Yeah.
Right? I would have been anti them too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And now it's just like, no, blue-haired motherfuckers who don't believe in God are still bulldozing essentially my right to speech. And yet, and this is another thing, if they had just said, yeah, we don't like brown motherfuckers, or, you know what, we don't really care about racism, but we just want you to shut up, that would be one thing. What I mean is, 2 years ago, why I started, I had started this show a few years earlier, but, when George Floyd happened and we were like, a bunch of well-meaning, smart, white motherfuckers were like, just listen to black people, don't think white people need to shut up. And I'm like, really? I grabbed a bunch of black conservatives. What about them? What about them? What about them?
No, that's not what they meant.
That's not what they
meant.
fucking
We want black
meant.
people who say what we want, because we want these puppets to say, and then we want to be able to hide behind these puppets and say,
Right.
no, it's about love and compassion. It's like, shut the fuck up. You don't agree with me.
Right.
It's bullshit. I agree.
And not only that, but like I just talked about I don't know. No, I did talk about it on the last show with Josh Slocum. I have officially retired as the white liberal girl whisperer. I have hung up my jersey. But
you do a great impersonation.
Thank you very much. It's sexually transmitted. But I have.
How many did it take? How many did it take to perfect it? Oh my God! You were in San Francisco, so we know that number is high. I was in San Francisco
and I was in New York.
Yeah, we know that number was high.
So yeah, but
You're just hanging around college campuses.
I know, right?
I just need to do a little more research. I'm not here for I just need for research.
Well, actually, really, what it was is that I, up until 2018 or 2016, I kind of figured I was a liberal because, that's what the definition of liberal was. It was like, oh yeah, leave people alone, da-da-da. I didn't really give a fuck. In your 20s and, or for me anyway, in my 20s, I didn't care about politics.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep a job, get laid, and figure out who I am.
Right.
So when it comes down to like, okay, for me, I've told this story before, but when Trump won, an ex-girlfriend called me and she's like crying, we're all going to die, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I didn't vote for the motherfucker, but I don't think we're all going to die.
Yeah,
this
I know.
is not that big
it was so extreme.
Not that big a deal.
Everybody in New York acted like they were going to a mass funeral. I was like, talk about, and even it was even gray and rainy that day. I was like, are they controlling the weather? What's happening here?
Yeah, absolutely. And so like for me, it was like, okay, I've spent enough time around that type of person that I know kind of what they are. And mostly it's she. And I do believe like, absolutely
It's
there's
she?
a risk of, there's a she. Right. So meaning the main problem is, yeah, dudes need to stand up. But the main problem is the dudes are being led around by the ear, by the nose, by angry, unfulfilled white broads.
Right. But I think that this is a multi-pronged problem.
It absolutely is.
Because I think some part of it is the psychological aspect, but another part of it is people don't really realize this, but there has been such an influx of things in the environment that are legitimately chemically lowering male testosterone.
Touche.
And there is something to be said about testosterone. Testosterone is the no principle. Testosterone is the I'll fight you. It's the courage principle. It's right. Hey, I'm the man here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I have a lot of testosterone.
I know, we can tell. The Bronx.
But that's physically been eliminated. And so you have an influx of very effeminate men who don't have the ability, you know, they don't have the physical capacity to stand up. In addition to also this sort of social engineering where we've been moving toward a more cerebral society and less physically demanding society. So
things have gotten better.
The coupling of all of those things has made it so that the traditional male is not quote unquote needed, and we can clearly see that that's not true. But
no, and that's why I was always, you know, the white liberal girl whisperers, because even though these girls knew that I was somebody who voted the wrong way, they would come across my energy and they'd be like, why do I like this guy? Like,
exactly.
You know, like, why am I mean, I know he's the devil, he's racist, but my pussy's wet. Like, what is this? It's just like, and I would have to explain that or whatever. But I've come to the point where I don't know. I ended a relationship a couple weeks ago, and it was just like, I'm tired of the debate society. I'm tired of.
You have to debate all the time?
Well, not just that, but like coming to the point where, like, I give so much. And at a certain point, it's just like, what are you even giving back to me? You know what I mean?
So like muffle that.
Right. Well, I have thanks with you. Like, sorry, I can get that fucking anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the main thing that fixes that is exactly like what you're talking about, the no principle. Part of the reason I was refreshing is that I do say no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I set boundaries and follow through. And I hate to, everybody cover your ears or whatever, but like, part of that is the similar thing to, I don't mean that women are dogs or women are kids, but somebody, I'll put it this way. If me and you were in the wilderness thousands of years ago, someone needs to carry the baby and someone needs to stab the wolf. I'm a fucking wolf stabber.
Right.
My bicep is bigger than your. You have, milk. You have your strengths and importance. Why wouldn't you want fulfillment through what your natural strengths are?
I think the no principle is important both ways, because the truth is, like, this idea that men want this sort of like, oh, okay, whatever, is bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's bullshit, dude. I can't tell you how many men have hit on me because they're like, you're so strong and confident. I'm doing that Jim Carrey voice when he does the trans woman.
And then
you're so strong and confident. Could you carry me? And I'm like, no, no, I can't carry you. Right. But that's an equivalent thing. It's the no principle is the integrity of the individual, and we're kind of losing it, I think, in both sides. Women, for example, are not saying no.
Okay, in what way?
Sexually. They're having all this casual sex. They don't know how to say, you want pussy? I want a house.
All right, hang on, goddammit. I do.
Do you know what I mean?
I
they
like
don't
piecing
know.
apart what you're talking. Yeah,
they don't know how to command respect for the physical exchange of what's happening there, because there is we can all just be like animals over here and just be like, well, my body wants to bang you, so let's do it. And then anybody who's sort of engaged in that behavior will tell you how deeply unfulfilling and unsatisfying, and how like that's actually not what you want, right?
And there it is.
You're right. It's not actually what you want.
My fight is for fulfillment, and this is something I've always talked about with all these girls. It's like, why is my pussy whatever? It's like, okay, if this is the only life I have, why wouldn't I want to focus on living my, like, I'm sorry to say, my truth, but like what's true for me? You know what I mean? And the problem is that girls are shown this is what's going to make you happy. This is empowerment. You feel powerless. You feel these guys have hurt you, or these guys didn't like you, or these bitches at school, or blah, blah, blah. Here's how you get power. Here's how you get importance. Cut your tits off, or you give it all away, or show it on OnlyFans or whatever.
Well, that's that MK Ultra mind control programming.
Okay.
Again. 100%. Well, because it's flooded our society on every level. Okay. You turn on a TV and the cool girl's the one who's like having sex with all the guys. Right. You've got these female rappers now being like, singing a song about their empowerment with taking control of their sexuality. Right. And they're basically glorifying prostitution. Right. And they're like, yeah, I'm so powerful or whatever. And you're like, yeah, I can get how a guy would like that for like one night or two. Right. That's not going to be like the thing that is, hey, I respect this woman.
And not just that, but there's something in my belly, and maybe this is just because I'm an old man, I'm 36, but like at this point in my life, it's like, oh, I look at girls like, yeah, girls in their 20s look very cute and blah, blah, blah. But I'm also like, I watch them do those, it's like, I've done that game. I know exactly.
Yeah.
And you think you're happy. You think you're doing what's going to fulfill you, and you're doing the fucking opposite of that
I don't
shit.
think they think. I don't think there's a lot of thinking.
Possibly not.
I think it's, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what my friends are doing. Be cool, you know? And I have a lot of compassion for them because I don't, again, right? Hate the action, not the person.
Right.
It's like, I get it. This is, you know, there's stuff that I've done in my life when I've been under like mass hypnosis or the conditioning or believing, and it plays into your own, you know, faults or whatever. Right. And it's like, okay, I get it. So it's like you still got to see the value of the human being behind that, and you know, kind of try to take on the sort of more deeply religious, spiritual perspectives that talk about the value of a human being. The true value of a human being is separate from whatever they may be doing in their life. Right. Within every human is the potential to be an angel or a demon. Mm-hmm. And so if you see somebody acting like a demon, we should be in pain at the loss of the angel.
Right, and that doesn't mean we don't set boundaries or have consequences.
No. This is it. We're not about to be liberal, compassionate, bleeding hearts over here.
And it's a similar way.
Sometimes the compassion is being like, no.
Right. I've put it another way. If you're going to accurately know your enemy, you have to know your enemy.
You do.
And it's too many times on the right or the conservative or the whatever. It's like too often people are like, oh, patriot, they hate America. Like, no, bro. They think they have good intentions.
Yeah.
They believe themselves. And so shaking somebody out of that stupor is even fucking more difficult.
Right.
But it is possible. And one of the ways I've been a champion on my fucking goddamn stupid ass. That's why I'm not goddamn famous. Because I'm Puerto Rican.
They're discriminating against you.
They hate bald people. Is that I try to stay accessible to motherfuckers. You know what I mean? I try to stay accessible, meaning if I can possibly, if someone comes in on my comments swinging, no fucking problem.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
I'll match your energy, baby.
Right.
Boo. But if somebody is like, I don't really like, I can be like, okay, well, here's my perspective, blah, blah, blah. And I find when you get those sick people who are mentally, spiritually, emotionally ill, you get them off of social media, get them into a conversation, they're actually a lot more reasonable. They think, and they are.
Yeah.
Smart
You can't.
motherfuckers.
I stopped having fights on social media. It was such a waste of time and energy. I just don't do it. Like, I'll actually just be like, you're right.
Right. You really opened my eyes.
You're right. Thank you for mansplaining that to me. I didn't know. I'm just a stupid little woman over here.
So what taught you to have balls? Was it New York? Was it your parents? Was it what was it?
I think it was the combination of things. I remember people always thought I was so tough, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, because I didn't feel that way. I felt so sensitive. I'm so sensitive. People would not know this if they watch like any of my content.
Get her.
If they watch me do stand up or whatever, nobody will ever be like, yeah, she. Talk to anybody who knows me in the comedy community. The words to describe me will not be sensitive and sweet. But I was so deeply sensitive. I felt everything deeply. And so I think it come almost unconsciously. I learned to put a very protective, tough exterior.
The crust, right.
And so when I'd go places, people were like, she's so tough. I was like, you have no idea how much I feel everything inside. Right. So I think it was that complexity, and I've kind of learned how to soften the toughness a little bit over the years, because
not on stage, but
I mean sometimes on stage. Sometimes you play with people in a certain way that's a little bit softer.
Right.
But because I trust my own capacities to handle emotions better.
Nice.
So that's why. But it was definitely the combination of growing up in the Bronx, having a tough family, being Albanian. I mean, you don't survive in that region of the world without thick skin. Like you're not gonna make it. You know what I mean? Like my parents would be like, "You're getting fat," you know, and I'm like 15, right? And it's like I'd look at these American parents, and like I'd be like, I would look at these girls, and I'm like, those girls are definitely fatter than me. How are their parents giving them cheese doodles? Like my parents would be like, "No, you can't eat today. You're fat." And it was like it made me cry. It wasn't the right thing to do. I wouldn't recommend you talk to your teenage girls this way. But they're almost like Russian, where they're just like, well, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you look good. Then you're going to go. You're going to look bad to everybody. I tell you here because I love you. And you're like, this is just hurting my feelings, you know?
That's why I haven't mentioned the surgery that I had the other day. Because I feel like Albanians would be like, we do podcast on same day of surgery. You don't give a fuck.
Yeah, we'd be like, what's wrong with you? You can't do it
Lift up that car.
Come on.
Right. But I want to differentiate. I want to hear your thoughts on differentiating between the balls, right, and the crust, the necessary crust. You ever heard of Camille Paglia?
No.
Camille Paglia is a first wave feminist. None of this third wave, second wave bullshit.
Right.
She was a first wave and she's still alive. And you know, her publicist says she would be willing to come on the show if she ever comes out with another book. Bitch, come on my show. Anyway, and she's super anti all this third wave, fourth wave bullshit.
Because she thinks it's trash.
It is trash.
Because it's basically what they were doing before. They were getting women to give away sex with no, like, anything. The whole thing about, you know, you be in possession of yourself is, sorry, okay, that's nice that you want to sleep with me. Thank you very much. Take a number.
Right.
Keep it moving.
Right. Check your gut. See what you actually want.
Yeah.
One of the things she talks about is that the women who are these days more upset by catcalling are protected upper middle class white broads. They're not usually girls from the Bronx.
Oh yeah,
from the dirty.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Catcalling is how I learned I was attractive. I was like, what? These old men want to molest
power.
me? What do I do with this?
Right. Let me try this look and let me try that look. Yeah, absolutely. We all learn what kind of power that we have. But what she talks about is how these privileged, you know, girls in cages suddenly get, and I personally believe it's one of the reasons why New York is dead, is a bunch of Connecticut white broads coming down, right? Yeah. Girls who saw Sex in the City, Friends, and we're like, that seems romantic. Daddy, give me money. I'm going to go to NYU.
Yeah.
They come down to NYU, and then they're like, this doesn't feel like Friends. This doesn't feel like Sex in the City. Government, Big Daddy government, fill in for my dad and protect me at all times. Make me feel this, make me feel that. You know, that's essentially what it is.
Well, I mean, I'm making a joke, but I'm not a big fan of the catcalling and the harassment. I think that's an imported cultural thing. You know what I mean?
Imported cultural thing.
Yeah, well, think about who does a lot of catcalling.
Black people.
No. Oh my God, you got a whole thing. It's actually, I think Latinos do it way more than black people. But it was the Italians before that, right? Like, you didn't have really, like, the people don't realize this, like, the first wave of immigrants in America, were German English men, right? That wasn't in the culture.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of, it's in the Albanian culture too. It's not so much catcalling. Like, I notice when I go back to my country, like, there's a lot of, like, and I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, you know what? I appreciate the American sort of white bread civility of keep it together. Be in charge of your sexuality. Don't just let it slip out like that. Right. And so you'll get a lot of this from these cultures in these other parts of the world. Right. Latino cultures, Italian cultures, before everybody be like, oh, I don't like the brown people. It's the Italians too, the Albanians too, But that's not something that I say, like, I'm all for, because, my family is family of immigrants. Sure. That's cool. But guess what? You got to assimilate. That's how I feel. You know what? This is why. Because if you don't want to assimilate, stay where you are. Right. Oh, you don't like it where you are because you don't like the effects that have happened? That a part of that has to do with the culture. Right. So if you like the effects of what's happening here, you got to take on some of the causes too. Right. You can't come over here and be like, oh, I want the lavish, like, effects of a prosperous nation without doing the exact same thing that we did over there. That's my point. And catcalling to me is one of those things. Well, so I wouldn't be sad to see that disappear. No. But the reason why I bring it up is maybe an example of the fact that the privileged, protected birds in cages, you know what I mean, wouldn't necessarily be you, because we were talking about the crust, the Bronx crust that you built up around. Yeah. Whereas you might not like it, but do you feel broken by it? No. But I mean, I've had times where I've had to, like, really kind of, like, school some men on stuff. For sure. They've, like, said stuff, and I've been like, I'm just trying to get to work. Right. How do you feel if I said to you, smile, baby, show me that ass? Honestly, you don't want to ask us. I know. But this guy got it. This guy got it. I was like, you know what? I'm really trying to get to work, and you're stressing me out. Right. You're stressing me out. It's not about, I'm not even thinking about you. Absolutely. But that's the thing. Then that's not. And why I got to do that? And then you got to be careful as a woman to do that. Who are you going to say it to? Where that guy could be a nut. He might decide to stab you. I mean, that's like real
But
shit.
that's the awareness that you got from your upbringing, from living in New York.
Yes.
Whereas Connecticut, blah blah blah.
No, but there is that like, hey, you live in Connecticut, and then you want. I mean, look, I'm not going to knock it. There's something nice about being like, hey, yeah, you're going to shut your mouth because you're gonna get arrested. I like that.
As far as catcalling
Oh
goes?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Arrested for catcalling?
I would love it. I would be like, go ahead.
This is why she's not in charge. This is why we give her a
oh, yeah.
microphone
I'd be
and
like,
a stage.
you even fucking whisper. You whisper at a woman, you're going to jail.
Right.
Nobody would get laid anymore.
No, not at all.
I'd be like, me too, me four.
Yes. So you felt that crust. What happened for you? So for part of how are we doing on time, by the way? Can you check the time
Take
for
a
me?
look. It is
Thank you.
6:56.
Okay,
Do you want to go for like 10 more?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So my experience was this. I reached a point where I realized New York is not it, but I had also been doing a lot of, I hate to get woo-woo, but I kind of feel, fuck it, this is the goddamn show. Everybody look up her comedy. But I've been doing enough, so I've been sober 20 years. I've been doing a lot of, I'm like fucking work on myself is like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a similar symptom to when motherfuckers, patriot, they hate America, like where things are more complicated, and I feel we need to pull back, sit back, because here's the deal, motherfuckers on Tuesday there's probably going to be some fucking disappointment and some cheating going on, right?
Yeah.
As far as the election goes.
Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, they're telling us they're going to cheat.
Yeah.
They already told us.
It's going
They
to
already
take
said
a few days.
They were like the Russian bots. I was like, oh, you guys. Okay, got it.
Right. So when that happens, I think part of the reason why the left lost its motherfucking mind is because they don't practice taking care of themselves. They don't take care of, like, let me focus on, whether it be spirituality, whether
I
it be
think they
God.
take too much care of themselves.
But you know what I'm saying. Like, as far as, like, really assessing themselves, getting off of social media.
Oh, you mean in terms of being critical of their own behavior?
Critical of their own behavior, and also detaching. I mean, it's called touching grass or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Go outside, be in the present
into the
moment.
real world. Yeah.
Whereas people
their whole
like
programming is connected to, does my team in politics win or lose? Once again, MK Ultra mind control programming.
Right.
I'm telling you, it's like my dad falls asleep to watching CNN. That's entering his unconscious.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's a lot of people, they may not be watching it on TV, but they're on their phones. They're looking at the memes. They're looking at the accounts. And they're like, yeah, oh my God, AOC, she is literally me. Literally me. No, she's not. She's a pawn. She's a pawn from George Soros. She is. From the moment she came out, I was like, oh, this girl graduated from a CIA training camp. I mean, I don't even think that level because she's not that good, but it was like CIA light. You know what I mean? If they had like a preschool for CIA, that's where she went through.
And she looks like the llama from Emperor's New Groove.
Oh my God, that's
she
so
really
good.
Does. Teeth, eyes, the whole thing.
They're
Look
like,
it up.
she's so hot. I'm like, she's attractive, but she's so annoying that I can't even.
Right. The only way to fuck her is to muzzle her. That's what maybe I'm talking about.
There's a lot of people
BDSM, right?
who would do that. There are a lot of people. We're not going to get into that. But it's it's not even that. It's about the fact that, like, hi, you're for sale. Yeah. You are bought and paid for. I don't respect you.
Right.
You come out with this whole, everything is so fake, and it's just, but they know it and they don't care because they're making their money.
Right.
That's what it's about.
So what happened for you when you came to Austin? What's it been like?
It's been great. I started working as a comedian, and what was really nice is people really respected talent here. And I think part of it, it did help being a female and actually being funny. Like, people want to be like, oh, it's hard for women in comedy. It is in one way, because you're always looked at like sexually. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, it just doesn't matter, okay? But when there was like comedy and talent to back it up, it's sort of like it overshadowed any kind of like, oh, but she's a woman. It would just they stopped. I can feel that they stopped seeing that, and that felt great, And the real important thing about it was that I could say whatever I wanted. The internal censor has died.
Okay.
I don't have, like, in New York, what was starting to happen to me is like I was thinking about doing a joke, and then I wouldn't even think about doing certain jokes because my brain was like, you can't do that.
Right.
you know what's going to happen. If you
Fuck
say that,
that.
you're going to get attacked.
Fuck that.
And that was so hard because there's so much funny stuff that's in the offensive paint.
Yes.
That's what comedy is. That's why you do it, you know? And so when I came here, what was so nice is, you know, I know Austin's a pretty liberal city for being in Texas, but it is in Texas. And a lot of people that came were so sick of that shit, and especially because a lot of them came, you know, and a lot of people come to comedy now are like Joe Rogan fans, and Joe Rogan's got a very particular group of people who aren't really down with the censorship.
Right.
And they what's nice that I see happening is it's becoming part of the culture to not be a pussy. The same way it became part of the culture
To be a pussy.
And don't be offensive. Something's starting to shift, which I can feel, and it's going to be really cool when it happens, and then we're going to have to check it because it's going to go in the extreme as everything. Yeah. But what's happening is I can feel that their old training of like I should be offended is coming up, but then they know they're in the Joe Rogan scene and they're like, don't be that person because you're going to be a pussy. And
so you haven't gotten kicked out of shows or not booked?
No. So they're starting to tolerate things that they used to know they had to get offended by. And this is kind of what you got to do. You know, I feel like the religious leaders know this. The political leaders know this. A lot of like really smart people know that the bulk majority of humanity needs to be led. It's the truth. So, so the question is, who are you following?
Right.
Most of us have to follow someone. I mean, there's things I don't follow people in, but there's other things I need to follow somebody. So it's like, it's about making that choice. And it's like, who do we elect as our leaders? And I think that's really important.
Right. And I feel like the next step is who do we elect as our representative rather than leader?
Fuck them, dude. Just look at who you're listening to. Those representatives are going to cater to whoever you're following.
Right. But I'm saying the next step of our, you know, Bill Hicks used to talk about our next evolution is not another thumb. It's mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional. It's letting go of the institutions that no longer serve us.
Yeah.
Right? And one of those institutions, I believe, is personally, and it may take some fucking, you know, this might be a little goddamn extreme, but hey, I'm in Austin. I'm going to get some goddamn guns and some chickens. But you know, is the next step is, small government or even potentially not even any.
Yeah, I think small government is great. You do need to hold people accountable.
You do need to have some regulation, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying, you know, whatever. But all I'm saying is, like you were talking about leaders, I think it's easy to just say that when maybe the next step up is, wait a second, these motherfuckers, like Joe Biden is my employee. He's your employee.
Yeah. You could say that all you want, but they don't work for us.
Right, but they should, is what I'm saying. That's what
the truth is they've never worked for us. They've always worked for the rich people.
Right. And so if we're going to go back to that ideal and try to fight or, you know, burn it all to the ground, start over, whatever, if we're going to get to that level, I think practicing just like CNN blares in the, you know, background, whatever, we have to try to practice that. Wait a second. They work for me. The FBI doesn't raid nobody's house without my fucking money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
but
just that
it'll be interesting
of,
to see what happens with that because that's gotten out of control. But I think it's like just to be really conscious of who you're following, who you're listening to. Where'd you get that idea from?
Right.
Is that really your idea? Check everything at the door. Because I've been a victim of this too, just spouting things that I heard. And we can all do it. You know, it's sort of the way we're made. Right. But self-reflection and self-analysis and getting feedback too, because you can't see yourself. Let me tell you something. There's nothing that I hate hearing more than an ugly truth about me. Ooh, it stings.
Yeah.
But I will never shun the person who told me.
Right.
I've had several people in my life at a couple of key moments say some really painful things to me that I've in the moment been like, I'll never talk to you again. Right. And then I stop and reflect on it and I go, they're right. And they loved me enough to tell me. Right.
And I feel like comedy's supposed to be a good mirror to that. I.e., you know, it's talked about a lot in the comedy world. It's like the judge, the arbiter is the audience.
Yeah.
Not the douchebag who wrote an article about she wasn't funny. Is like they laughed. So that's the arbiter.
That's it.
If
that's
a joke doesn't land, the comedian doesn't go, hey, you guys are being hateful right now. You know what I mean? Like that's not.
And I'll just say this and then we can like wrap it up. Yeah. What I've seen with comedy is it's funny. It's like it's two mirrors, you know, because I'm on there and I'm reflecting back to you. Right. And your ridiculousness in the moment, in society, what you're doing right now in the show, whatever. And when you laugh, it's because you recognize it.
Right.
And now what happens is we have a space to get somewhere. You can look at, I did this the other night when I was doing comedy show. I had these two girls, very adorable, but they look like, total Instagram models, look like they were exactly the same person. And I just reflected them back to themselves without any hate, by the way, because I've really kind of let go of the hate. I don't really, right. Sometimes I'll hate people, you can't help it. Fun. But this part, I let go of the hate, and it was just me. I was just having fun with them and just being like, oh, I know, you can't laugh right now because if you laugh, your face doesn't look cute, and we can't do that, Right. And they just started cracking up, and they got it in the moment. It's like, hey, this is who you are.
Right.
And if you don't like it, you don't have to be it.
Right.
Or you could be cool and be like, I don't give a shit what this old bitch said.
Right.
Okay.
Albanian ass motherfucker.
This Albanian bitch.
Where can people find you, dear?
So I'm on Instagram and on YouTube. Leonarda is funny on YouTube. Leonarda is funny. And then Leonarda is funny 2 on Instagram. So that's where most of my content is. And I'm starting to revamp up my Instagram, bring back a lot of the content that they took out from me.
Fucking cocksucker.
It's great. I mean, I saved it all, so it'll be good for everyone. But
Right. But I mean, did you have a backup before you got kicked off?
Yes, I did. I didn't back everything up, but I have most of it.
Good. And then you're performing at Vulcan. You're performing all over Austin.
Oh, yeah. So if you follow me on my Instagram, that's where I post all my shows. So I'll be performing at Vulcan, Creek in the Cave, Sunset Room. They're great. They're opening their comedy club here permanently in January, which is going to be awesome. Nice. And then I'm actually going to do New York Comedy Festival this weekend in New York. So I'll be in New York for a week. So if I don't know when this is dropping, but
probably tomorrow.
Oh, great! So
I wouldn't necessarily call it dropping.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not as young as you. So
okay. So Saturday, November 12th, I have a show in the New York Comedy Festival.
Oh, very cool.
That people
okay,
can
so
come.
people can get
get tickets. Yeah,
okay,
it's at New York Comedy Club in Greenwich Village.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Cool.
Leonarda Jonie.
Thanks for having me.
I know, I'm great. Wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe and share. And love you. Bye.